Imagine this. You're standing at the very center of the Roman Empire. All that power, all that responsibility for millions of lives, huge territories, and you're also carrying this private notebook full of philosophical thoughts.
So that's Marcus Aurelius, isn't it? That fundamental tension, leader and thinker.
Exactly. And today we're going to explore his life. It's quite a story how he even got to be emperor. It wasn't straightforward at all.
Not at all. And then the challenges he faced. Constant conflict, immense difficulties.
Look at how he tried to juggle those huge responsibilities with his commitment to Stoic philosophy. What can his reign teach us about leadership, about resilience?
And how this emperor, the one often called the philosopher, managed it all. Leadership, war, personal loss, always trying to live by his principles.
So the question for you listening is, what can his journey show us about using a philosophical mindset when things get tough? Really tough. Okay, let's start with how he actually became emperor. Because Marcus Aurelius wasn't born directly in line for the throne, which is, well, pretty unusual for Rome.
Right. He was born in Rome, April 121. His name wasn't even originally Marcus Aurelius. Maybe Marcus Annius Catilius Severus, something like that.
And his father died quite young.
Very young. Marcus was only 3. His father was a praetor at the time, which is a significant step in a Roman political career. So Marcus was raised mostly by his mother, Domitia Lucilla Minor, and his paternal grandfather.
So no clear path to power there. How did the adoption happen? It seems complicated.
It really was. Emperor Hadrian, he first adopted someone else, Lucius Ceionius Commodus.
Okay.
But Commodus died unexpectedly. So then Hadrian adopted Antoninus Pius, but on the condition that Antoninus would then adopt 2 others.
Ah, so that's where Marcus comes in.
That's right. Antoninus adopted Marcus, and also Lucius Verus, who was the son of that first adoptee, Aelius Commodus.
Wow. And Marcus wasn't exactly thrilled about this.
Apparently not. The story goes he greeted the news with sadness, not joy. He really didn't want to leave his mother's house to move into Hadrian's private home. Definitely not your typical power grab. And what's really fascinating is how his early life, his education, it wasn't the standard path for a Roman noble destined for the top.
Even with his status.
Even then, he was apparently really into physical stuff growing up, wrestling, boxing. He trained hard, even learned to fight in armor. He was part of the Sali, those priests of Mars. Quite active.
But the philosophy thing started early, too.
Oh, yes. Around age 11, one of his tutors, Diognetus, got him interested. And Marcus took it seriously. He started dressing like a philosopher, rough Greek cloak, the whole look.
And sleeping on the ground. I read that somewhere.
He did, until his mother managed to persuade him a bed might be better.
He had tutors pushing him in different directions.
Exactly. He had Marcus Cornelius Fronto teaching him Latin oratory, public speaking skills essential for Roman politics. But then there was Quintus Junius Rusticus.
The Stoic influence.
Precisely. Rusticus really pulled him towards Stoicism, away from just rhetoric. And Marcus embraced it not just as theory, but as a way to live.
And that stuck with him, even as emperor.
It seems so. His biographer mentions how his character didn't really change after the adoption. Still respectful to family, careful with money, quite humble, just like he was before. That discipline, that humility, it was baked in early.
That really does set the scene. So, fast forward to 161. Antoninus Pius dies. Marcus is effectively the emperor.
The sole ruler, technically.
But he does something completely unexpected.
Unprecedented, really. He refuses to take office alone. He insists that his adoptive brother, Lucius Verus, must be given equal powers.
The first time Rome had 2 emperors ruling together.
The very first time. A huge break with tradition.
Though, were they truly equal in practice?
Well, that's the nuance. Nominally, yes, but Marcus clearly had more auctoritas, more real authority, more prestige.
Why was that?
He'd been consul more times, he'd already shared some power with Antoninus, and crucially, he was Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest. Lucius wasn't. Everyone would have understood who the senior partner was.
Still, insisting on sharing power says a lot. What else did he do right at the start?
A very pragmatic move. He promised a huge donativum, a bonus, to the Praetorian Guard.
Buying loyalty.
Essentially, yes. Insurance against any military trouble. It was twice the size of previous ones. Costly, but probably seen as necessary.
And signs of economic strain already.
Almost immediately. He had to revalue the denarius, the main silver coin. He decreased its silver content. That points towards financial pressures right from the beginning. And connecting this to the wider situation, this dual rule, it wasn't just a political experiment. It established a model of shared responsibility.
Which they needed pretty quickly, right?
Instantly. Late 161 or early 162, the Tiber River floods massively in Rome.
Causing huge problems.
Devastating floods, leading to famine in the city, a major crisis.
And both emperors got involved.
They did. They personally oversaw the relief efforts, sending aid from Rome's own granaries to affected communities in Italy, showed they were engaged, taking their duties seriously.
But this must have pulled Marcus in different directions. The philosopher versus the emperor dealing with disaster.
Absolutely. You see that tension clearly in his letters, especially with his old tutor Fronto. He writes about being, drowned in paperwork, unable to find time to relax or focus on his philosophy.
That internal struggle, trying to live by Stoic principles while running an empire in crisis.
It's a constant theme, the demands of the state versus his inner philosophical life.
So the empire's under pressure, floods, economic issues, and then it gets worse. Much worse.
Right. His reign becomes defined by almost nonstop conflict and calamity. It wasn't a peaceful time for contemplation.
It kicks off with the Parthian War, doesn't it?
Almost immediately, yes, 161. Vologeses IV of Parthia invades Armenia, which was a Roman client state.
And it starts badly for Rome.
Disastrously. A whole Roman legion under Severianus was basically wiped out. A massive defeat.
So what's the response?
They send Lucius Verus, the co-emperor, east to lead the counteroffensive. He spends most of the campaign based in Antioch.
And how did that go? Mixed reports on Lucius.
A bit mixed, yes. Some sources criticize him for living it up, a luxurious lifestyle, while the war was on. But militarily, Rome did eventually succeed.
What were the key victories?
They capture Artaxata, the Armenian capital, pushed into Mesopotamia, took back Edessa, sacked major cities like Nisibis and even the Parthian capital, Ctesiphon, and nearby Seleucia.
So Lucius gets the military glory, titles like Perthicus Maximus.
While Marcus is back in Rome managing everything else, it's quite the contrast in roles. And how does a leader like Marcus cope with all this? Especially when something even more devastating hits.
You mean the plague?
Exactly, the Antonine Plague. It breaks out during the Parthian campaign, probably in Mesopotamia around 165 or 166.
And it spreads everywhere.
Throughout the entire Roman Empire, we're talking millions of deaths. The scale is hard to comprehend.
Do we know what it was?
The descriptions from physicians like Galen, who lived through it, mention fever, terrible diarrhea, these awful skin eruptions. Most historians think it was probably smallpox.
Just devastating. And it might have spread even further.
There's speculation, yeah. Some historians point to a possible Roman mission or envoy reaching Han China around 166. It's possible this contact helped the disease spread further east, or maybe even brought it back west more severely. It definitely hammered Roman trade.
And Lucius Verus himself.
He dies in 169, very likely a victim of the plague returning from the east.
Leaving Marcus completely alone at the helm.
Sole emperor, facing plague, and then more war.
The Marcomannic Wars.
Right. These started around 166 and basically lasted until Marcus's death in 180. Constant pressure on the northern frontiers.
Who were they fighting?
Germanic tribes, mostly Marcomanni, Quadi, but also Sarmatians. They weren't just border raids. These were major invasions pushing into Gaul, Dacia, even northern Italy itself.
The empire was really under siege. How did Marcus handle that pressure?
Pragmatically. Stoic endurance, maybe? He fought relentless campaigns, spending years on the frontier. There's a specific detail where he actually settled some Germanic tribes within Roman territory.
Trying to integrate them.
Possibly as buffer populations or farmers. But it backfired sometimes. There was a revolt by some tribes settled near Ravenna in Italy. After that, he banned any more settlements in Italy and even kicked out the ones who had revolted.
So constant war, plague, migration pressures. It sounds utterly relentless.
It really was. His reign was about holding the line, preserving the empire against overwhelming odds. A true test of his commitment to duty.
Yet through all of this relentless pressure, he becomes known as the philosopher. How on earth did he find the space, the mental energy for that deep inner life amidst total chaos?
It's remarkable, isn't it? The key is his work, the meditations.
Written during the campaign.
Yes, mostly between 170 and 180, likely scribbled down in military camps along the Danube frontier. He wrote it in Greek.
And it wasn't meant for anyone else to read.
No, it seems to have been entirely personal. A private journal for self-reflection, self-improvement. Basically, him talking to himself, applying Stoic principles to his daily struggles and thoughts.
His own spiritual exercise guide.
Exactly. And yet, its influence has been immense. Frederick the Great admired it, Goethe, and it's still incredibly popular today. People still turn to it for guidance.
So that reputation, philosopher king, it wasn't just hype.
No, historian Herodian, writing later, specifically praised Marcus for living his philosophy, for his character in moderation, not just talking about it. And that philosophical core, it wasn't just kept separate in his private journal, it genuinely seems to have shaped how he governed.
How so? In his laws and administration.
Yes, he was known for being diligent and fair in legal matters. He paid close attention to things like the manumission of slaves, making the process clearer and perhaps fairer.
So improving conditions for them.
Moving in that direction, yes. And protecting orphans and minors, ensuring their guardians were suitable. Also, being careful about choosing city councilors, which was vital for running the empire effectively at a local level.
And his relationship with the Senate.
Quite respectful, apparently. He'd ask their permission to spend state money even when, as emperor, he probably didn't have to. He even told them the imperial palace wasn't really his, but belonged to them, to the Roman people.
That's a powerful statement of humility from an emperor.
It really is. Fits that Stoic idea of leadership as stewardship, not ownership. Now, one area that's, well, more complicated is his approach to the Christians.
Right. Persecution seemed to increase during his reign.
Locally, yes, it seems so, like the notable persecutions in Lyon and Gaul. But how much Marcus himself personally directed or approved is really debated by historians. It might have been more local governors acting on existing laws or popular pressure.
What did he say about them in Meditations?
Only one brief mention, really. He criticizes what he saw as their sort of theatrical obstinacy and martyrdom, a philosophical critique, perhaps, rather than a call for violence.
And that letter, supposedly from him stopping persecutions.
Almost certainly a later forgery. So it remains a complex picture. Even a philosopher-ruler struggled with how the empire dealt with new and sometimes challenging belief systems.
So his reign draws to a close. How did it end?
He died in 180, at age 58, probably near the Danube frontier, possibly in Vindobona, modern Vienna, or Sirmium. Likely cause was the plague still lingering.
And he was succeeded by his son, Commodus.
His biological son, yes. Which itself was a return to dynastic succession after a period of adoptive emperors.
And Commodus didn't live up to his father's example.
Not remotely. The historian Cassius Dio famously lamented the transition, calling it a decline from a kingdom of gold to one of iron and rust, a huge disappointment after Marcus.
A tragic endnote, in a way.
In terms of the succession, yes. But Dio also acknowledged Marcus's own achievement, preserving the empire through sheer willpower. Despite his own physical frailties and the unbelievable challenges he faced, he held it together.
So we've journeyed through this incredible life. Marcus Aurelius shouldering the immense weight of an empire constantly under attack, ravaged by plague.
Yet somehow finding the strength within himself, through philosophy, to keep going and reflect deeply on it all.
It's that rare mix, isn't it? Immense power, wielded by someone deeply focused on their inner life, on virtue.
He really shows us that leadership isn't just about command, but about endurance, about adapting, about trying to find that inner calm even when the world outside is falling apart.
So as you think about Marcus Aurelius' story, consider that constant struggle he faced, trying to make his philosophical ideals work in the messy, brutal reality of ruling Rome.
What lessons can we really take from his effort to maintain equanimity that was supposedly his last word, equanimity, in a world teetering on the edge? Something to reflect on.